Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Third Space Podcast, episode number 74, No Pain, No Game. That's a popular phrase, so fitting for a title. It's Super Tuesday, the Tuesday either before or after the Super Bowl. Daniel and I discuss that famous football event that I'm definitely aware of, and then I lead Daniel on an adventure. A Valentine's Day themed adventure, sort of, an adventure in etymology. It's a recurring segment that we've done a number of times in the past where I try to have Daniel guess the etymological origin of certain words. And then lastly, Daniel brings up the topic of the pain gate theory of pain control. He's learning about that due to the rapidly approaching birth of his first child. This is a method of pain control that you can apparently use to lessen pain by essentially distracting your nervous system. Very interesting topic, one I had not heard of before, but we discuss the physiological and psychological implications of the theory. It was a fun conversation, and I hope you enjoy it.
Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast, Third Space Podcast.
Tuesday.
Yes, it is.
That's
It is
today.
that day. That is today.
As you know, and I certainly know, the Super Bowl either was this past Sunday or is this upcoming Sunday. I'm pretty sure it was this past Sunday.
No, it's this upcoming Sunday.
Yes. That was a joke.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
this upcoming Sunday. Really? Because I heard my neighbors through my wall on Sunday, and I thought, it must be Super Bowl time.
Do you know who's in it?
Of course I do. But with the reason I knew, I got clued in that it was Super Bowl time, aside from hearing my neighbors, in my grocery store, I saw a display that
That's your cue.
that clued me in. And I wanted to ask
Like
you,
some
'cause
beer or
I know a lot about football and about professional
Yeah.
sports in general. But there's one thing I saw that I don't know what it means. So I wanted to ask you if you know. Apparently, according to this display, this Super Bowl is going to be a level 3 Super Bowl. And I don't know what that refers to. Maybe it's a scale of like 1 to 5. But it said really big, level 3. And I wanted to know, does that mean it's going to be more intense or a bigger crowd? Or like what's the difference between the different levels of Super Bowl?
I do not know.
That's
and
disappointing. It was just this
Yeah.
really. I mean, it was almost all that was displayed was level 3. So I figured it must be a gigantic deal. LV, and then three.
I'm thinking
LV,
it's obvious.
and then 3. The Roman
Do you
numeral.
really
3.
not know? like I don't know. Oh, wait.
So
Is
I'm
it
thinking.
really saying level 3, or is this a joke that I'm not getting that you're saying? Or is it like definitely? Are you saying LV?
LV is I assume that stands for level, right? And then there's
Okay.
the Roman numeral 3, which apparently means that it's a level 3 Super Bowl this year.
Oh my god, I didn't know. My brain was actually trying to solve your stupid puzzle. Bennett.
So I'd like to know.
I was like-
if you know, I
was
would
like-
like to know what that.
I was actually
what that means.
venting reasons. I was like, well, it couldn't be the size of the stadium, so perhaps it's something about broadcasting, because like in terms of like maybe like, because they're experimenting around with like Hulu having coverage of a particular game, or only this having the playoffs of this sport, and this like Netflix might buy the rights to something, and I was like, oh, maybe level 3 means, it's only behind Apple TV if you want the Super Bowl. Can you imagine, by the way? Weird,
man.
right? Like totally different than how we approach it. But not LV, that'd be 58. Does that mean really, though? That's what this is, was Roman numeral, I probably should have endured the joke about number.
Yeah, that's what it is. I thought it was funny.
That was. Well, I was actually conjuring up broadcasting terminology and going, yeah, like
The last 2 years apparently not as good. This one will be a level 3 though.
level. We went from 1 to 2 to 3.
Yeah, so
in a
fans
short.
fans are in for a treat this year when the Broncos fight the Dolphins or whatever.
Wait, those two are not in it. Name some like good, historically good teams.
Green Bay
that you're really
Packers,
yeah,
Georgia
they're not in it,
Bulldogs,
though.
go Dogs, woof woof, sick 'em, sick 'em
Nope, they're not in it.
Dogs.
They are
Well,
a
they
good
should
team.
be. They should be in it.
Well,
I'll
they
tell you
should have
that
been
right now.
in the college Super Bowl.
Super Tuesday. That's what they call today.
Yeah. Your favorite city is playing.
Oh,
your least
Reno,
well,
Reno, Nevada.
no, that's your actual favorite.
Oh. Your sarcastically favorite. Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah. Kansas City, the old Kansas
The old
City.
Kansas Cities. Kansas
know,
City
those-
barbecues.
Yeah, the barbecues.
It's
Do you
the
know- do you
Chiefs,
know
the
their
Kansas
team?
City
Yes.
Chiefs.
Yes.
Actually, I know some of the team names. So
Yeah, I don't know how do you know them, by the way? Just sort of
I don't know.
osmosis,
Yeah,
cultural
just-
absorption, like
just
I
absorb
figure-
it. Like just like I know other stuff that's on commercials and billboards sometimes.
And
Like
then
a
this one was
chalupa.
about like a chalupa.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know what that is, but I've seen it before.
The Chiefs and the chalupa and chalupas because osmosis.
Yep.
That's
What's
so
the other?
weird.
What's the other team? Give me a clue. I have
I'm trying to think of a clue.
The Seahawks.
It's kind of named after a gold rush kind of thing, I believe.
The 49ers.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, look at you.
Listen to me.
Do you think it's also because sports teams are reasonably? I mean, they come up with like NBA will have like the Pelicans or something, and you'll be like, "What? I didn't know that was a team or whatever." I could see you not knowing that the Pelicans.
No, I don't know that one.
exist.
I don't know as much about basketball teams. I'm
But the
pretty
point
good
is-
at recognizing baseball teams and football teams. I think basketball not
Is
so
it just
much.
because franchises tend to stay put for like some length of time, but players, I mean, I don't know what averages are, but they're not very long, and so
Yeah,
you'll be
well.
like, you like are vaguely aware of Tom Brady, like that's your level of like superstar status. It's like your knowledge of
I've heard of
football,
him.
Tom Brady, and like in wrestling, you'd be like, oh yeah, Hulk Hogan and Diamond Dallas Page, and like what's funny is
I could
Hulk
name
Hogan's,
more
like,
wrestlers than
yeah,
football
you could,
players.
because we went through a period in like 5th grade, we were all watching it and all.
I couldn't.
But like,
I couldn't identify Tom Brady in like a lineup of people.
what's
don't know what
funny
he-
is
I don't know
because
what he
you
looks
have
like.
ad blocker. He has been doing these Hertz rent-a-car commercial, and and their whole slogan is "Love Hertz," and it's like that he because he had this big scandal, and he gets up there like in real life. I think he was like, I don't know, went through this very public divorce. I'm not even sure. I don't follow that stuff. But now he's doing this cheeseball rent-a-car, and like he jumps on a couch of a fake talk show, kind of harkening back to Tom Cruise. You remember when he
Yeah,
did that on
right.
Oprah, and he's like, I love Hertz, and they're like, love Hertz, and they're playing on his like relationship falling apart, I think, and he's like, I really love Hertz, and their
Weird.
commercial, because it even starts by saying, all the people want to know, you've been in the headlines for quite some time recently for some not so great I don't know, they allude to the relationship by saying you've been in the headlines about love and all of this, but we really want to know, do you love Hertz or whatever? I'm not getting it exactly, but it's just very bizarre because A, he has tons of money and name recognition and all, so he's doing this absolute cheeseball commercial, and B, like, are we just kind of like making light of his relationship like his fundamental relationship in life crumbling, that he's choosing to poke fun at in a way that's like not even edgy or sleek, but like the kind of commercial that comes on Hulu while like frequently while I'm watching Bob's Burgers. Like I'm inundated with it's an ad campaign with 3 or 4 of these dumb Hertz rent-a-car commercials. It's like like I'm not their target audience. They're just like mass blasting it everywhere. Ugh.
What is this the guy? Is this the guy who like? Is this the guy who like kneels and prays and stuff?
No.
Is that Tim Tebow?
That's Tim Tebow.
Okay, I get those two
Yeah, Tim
confused.
Tebow. Well, he played college football very successfully and not pro football successfully. I think I don't know if he's still doing anything with pro football. Like he tried, didn't do well. He was not designed for, anyway, doesn't matter. He just didn't do that well in the pros. Even though he was like a god to ESPN during that era and to Florida and all that. Very funny that you kind of lump them into they do
They're
kind
the
of
same.
have
They're
this
basically the same person.
quarterback kind of treated as Superman, like handsome guys that
Cool name.
I don't know.
Good
Yeah,
name. It sounds like a biker name.
Tim Tebow.
Tim
Tim
Tebow?
Tebow. I don't know why you add the bone.
Because it's cool. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you add it if that was your name? It's a great
Well, it's
like
actually
nickname.
it's bow like bow tie.
Tim Bowtie.
Yeah, Tim Tebow.
Oh, Tebow.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. I have another topic. I want to shift. I'm bored of football. I know too much about it, and I'm tired of recounting all the things.
We
I
get
know.
it. We get it. Yeah.
Valentine's Day is next week, and
Yeah.
I thought I might propose to you a Valentine's
Yes,
Day
Bennett.
adventure.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah, an adventure proposed. An adventure. You should-
A Valentine's Day adventure in etymology.
Oh yeah, good.
Very romantic,
Etymology.
right?
Yes, it's
And
seasonal.
so-
It's on. Yeah.
From the list of words and phrases that I already had, I curated 3 that are somewhat kind of related to Valentine's Day, and those are the ones that we're going to do.
Excellent. Can I tell you a quick side story? We all have knowledge gaps. We don't really know, there's just dumb things that we thought the way things were when really, we should have recognized it a lot sooner. And I think you might know this about me, but it might have been 3rd or 4th grade, maybe 5th grade, maybe last year. I don't know. I seriously don't know when I was younger, but I thought it was Valentine's Day, as in like the time of day. And I just it made sense. It's like the times for Valen or whatever. I don't know what Valen is, but I'm a kid and I don't know lots of words. And Valen might mean love for all I know, and just Valen, the time of Valen, Valentine's Day. And there's almost some resistance. I don't remember the moment it confronted me, but you probably had those like moments where you're like, no. And actually, and then one more quick thing. I was working with a student on her paper recently, and she had made notes to herself, and she said she wanted to make a point, and she wanted to time it back to the earlier point. And I said, "Did you mean to write tie it back?" And she's like, and I could tell this was a moment where
Gotcha.
yeah, she's in 10th grade, and she just just realized it's not like tie it back. You can, like, to me, I've always thought of tying, like you're looping it back. These images of tying it and pulling it together. The metaphor is all synchronous in my mind. So time it back through me, and I asked her, "Is this one of these times where you just realized that?" And she goes, "Yeah," and I really liked that. So, and then she kept going on with the question, and I was just so stuck on it. I didn't listen to anything you just said. I was just thinking about tie it back versus time it back. Can you repeat your question? So knowledge gaps. I'm ready for adventures in etymology.
All right. Okay, so the first word is spinster. Do you know what a spinster is?
They kind of like take stories and narratives and twist them. The little spinster, like little maybe someone who's like a little weaselly.
Have you ever heard a woman referred to as a spinster?
Do they weave clothes together? They weave narratives in and out, and they're like a little like little gossipy spinster. Am I wrong here?
No,
I was
you're
like kind of vaguely like.
Maybe sort of
I
kind
feel
of.
like I should know the word. You're kind of making me a little embarrassed. Like
No, that's all right.
People would assume you know the word, but
It's not a super commonly used word anymore. But why don't I give you the 3 options, and you can kind of tell me your kind of your knee-jerk thought on which is the correct etymology for the word spinster.
Yeah.
So the first option is that it originates from the Middle English period, when unmarried women were supposed to occupy themselves with spinning, that is to say, making cloth.
Unmarried. That sounds. Anyway, sorry.
There you
that
go.
Just like, yeah. Okay.
And
yeah.
it usually describes a woman who was beyond the expected age of marriage. So that's why often women can be referred to as spinsters, and they are typically unmarried women. That's kind of the colloquial. At least that's the connotation of the word that I've
I think
heard.
now I'm thinking of like harlot and hussy and spinster. These are sort of like kind of just insults to women. Like
No,
it's
it's
a
not.
negative. It's not a negative. It feels like what a spinster. Like I just feel
Spinster might have come along with a little bit of a negative connotation, but it's certainly not in the same category as harlot and what else did you say?
I don't know.
And floozy and hussy. It's not.
Okay.
It's not like that. It's not a slut. It's a.
Yeah.
It's just an unmarried. It's just an unmarried woman, which might as well be the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like I'm actually, so I'm imagining polite society calling like in kind of hushed tones. There goes a spinster, and that's maybe why I've picked up on that. Man, they must be a harlot, you know.
I don't think it.
Okay, wait.
I don't think it historically had those.
Will
connotations.
you read that one more time?
Yeah.
The definition, just for my sake. Now that I'm settled in and understand the word better.
Yes, the possible origin for the word spinster is that it originates from the Middle English period, when unmarried women were supposed to occupy themselves with spinning, aka making cloth.
Yeah.
And it usually describes a woman who is beyond the expected age of marriage.
Okay. Seems like it could be the case. Yeah.
The
Seems reasonable.
the second possibility for where the word came from is that it originates from the practice that spiders have of spinning a web. So as you probably know, female spiders spin webs, and then they also sometimes eat their male counterparts. And this was a negative portrayal ascribed to women, unmarried women in particular, who had grievances against men.
That's very good, but it feels Bennettish to me. Like it's like that's a good connection that's made up. Is how that's what my gut tells me.
All right. Well, then here's a third option. Spinster originated by referring to a person. Nowadays, it's always a woman, but historically, it wasn't always a woman. But a person who bitterly spins stories about the opposite sex to explain his or her loneliness. So the reason why it picked up the word spin is because any story that was kind of arrayed against this particular person would spin it around to face the other direction. And the word spin, of course, comes from spinning thread, which means to revolve or twist the thread.
And that fits where my when I poorly define or inadequately define the terms or incorrectly define the term, my spinster has that like snake oily salesman who will spin your story like and make it different. Which, given that you and I like, I think have some creative overlap with language, or at least we think. Maybe it could even just be a product of us knowing each other so long that if I had to guess, you made up that one too. Even though that seems, they all three. I like when you do this, Bennett. Like, you do a good job. Like they all three seem plausible. They all three, and sometimes you add like a term like. What was the first phrase you used in the first definition, the spinning of the cloth? You said in some time period.
Middle English?
Period? Yeah, it just feels like that's pretty clever. Middle English. Like that could be a Bennett thing too. They all have a little Bennett in there.
Little bits of fake stuff that I just sprinkle in there.
Yeah. Potentially fake, like jargonistic, like academic sounding stuff.
Try my best. So if
I'm actually okay, so we have the spider, which is number 2. We have the storytelling, which is number 3, and number 1 is the sort of more cloth.
Yeah.
thing. There's something that is a little incoherent about the first one. That is, if you're supposed to be spinning and you're not, why would we call you a spinster? Because you're not married and you're not doing your role. So
No,
that doesn't.
no. Unmarried women are,
Are called spinsters. Yeah.
yes, are expected
But
to spend their time spinning clothes. If you're married, then
Oh,
you have other things to do, like taking care of your kids and stuff.
gotcha. I just thought that was like a common thing women should be doing. So they should be making clothes. That it's actually maybe the weakest, which is why I'm gonna say it's the actual one. So I'm going with they should be spending their time spinning clothes. That's
Wow,
what I'm guessing because it's the worst one.
You got it. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Yeah. You're
Nice.
better at etymology than actual
Than
etymology, than the real etymology.
Good intuition on that one. Hopefully, this Valentine's Day, all the spinsters will be busy making some clothes or something, and not bitching
Sexy
about
clothes
how
for
lonely
the
they
married. Yeah. Make some sexy clothes for the married folk.
are. Right. All right. The next word that I chose is a word we've actually talked about it in the last two podcasts. So I almost didn't choose it for that reason, but it's the word holiday. Valentine's Day is a
Yeah.
holiday, so might as well see if you know where it came from.
No, I don't.
So
I'm on holiday instead of vacation. European people say I'm on holiday.
Yeah,
So-
those guys are weird.
Or yeah. Do they say that even on the weekend? It's Saturday. It's like leave me, instead of saying hey, it's the weekend. Oh, it's Saturday. Don't bother me. Well, they say like I'm on holiday. Leave me alone. Like I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
feel
think
like
that that's what they say. They say like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
on holiday eating crisps" or something.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, a bunch of weirdos. All right, the first potential definition or origin for the word holiday is that it's a contraction of holy day. It's originally only referring to religious celebrations of important days of the Christian faith, such as Christmas and Easter, and then eventually it was expanded to mean any day of celebration.
That seems very plausible. Yeah. Just seems super because I think of it as like a Western word anyway, and Western and Christianity, the overlap. Because even when you add the Christian part, I thought you were just going to say religious holidays and holy day, and I was like, when you added the Christian part, I thought maybe not, but actually that tracks even more so. So I'm feeling like that might be it. But keep going. I don't know how you're going to beat that one.
All right, the second option is that it's a contraction. It's another contraction of Holland Day. This originated with the globe-spanning Dutch trading company. I'm sure you know, since you're geographically aware, that Dutch people are from Holland.
Yeah.
Anyway, it referred.
The Netherlands,
Yes.
Holland, Dutch area.
That's right. And so it referred to any day on which the merchants were free of work upon their return to Holland after a long voyage. And then this celebration of lack of work eventually spread to other ports and then to anyone free from work for a day. Holland
what?
Day.
No. I mean, it was interesting and specific enough to go. Bennett wouldn't come up with that degree of specificity with just the right balance of applicability, but I think you did. So keep going.
All right, the third option is another contraction. This one is of Holly Day. This one was coined in the early 1700s when the holly plant became England's national decoration for the royal Christmas feast. And London was decked in holly. You've heard that phrase in Christmas songs.
Deck the holly with
Boughs of Christmas.
Boughs of halls. Yeah.
The balls of Christmas. Deck the holly and balls of Christmas. That's how the lyrics go.
Yeah.
People colloquially called the day of decoration Holly Day, and afterwards the name stuck to any day requiring special decoration, even when no holly was
pretty
involved.
good. I'll give you that. That one's pretty good too. And Holly Day, versus Holy Day. I'm gonna stick with my Holy Day. I don't know why we would shift from holiday. Yeah, we're there. It was the first one. I think it went from holy day to holiday. I do. I just don't think it was Holland Day. And then holly is just kind of like, oh, I got it. I can make something with the holly, and it even fits with the a holiday, so it's perfect. And you did a good job. You might again have etymologized etymology, but I think it's A.
Oh, you got it
Come in,
again.
Mike.
2 for 2, man.
Yes. I think I'm really on it. Like I think I'm reading your brain right now. Like, yeah, yeah. I just think all my commentary was so accurate. That's why I said it.
No, I can't dispute. You're on it. You're on it.
Do you even agree though? My dumping a little on the Holland one, like you're like, but it was good by the way. I mean, it was creative and like you were working with limited. You had to. It was a good choice to say that this was a contraction, and then you were limited in what you could play with, and you did a pretty good job. But you did a great job with the last one, Holland.
I thought Hollanday was
Charming.
It was decent, and
It was charming and
it's
creative.
historically feasible, anyway.
Yeah,
At least a little bit. So,
It is. It's all like it was a good answer. It would have been the best answer if you.
I mean,
if
the
it were
Dutch
just-
had a huge trading thing back in that time period, right? And so they were all over the world, and merchant ships and
So
sailors
if I were
were
a little
big
smarter,
thing.
if I were
And
a little
so-
smarter and knew a little bit about that, I vaguely pull. Yeah, weren't they huge into trading? I think that's what he's pulling. Yeah, like
I could just easily
Might have gotten
imagine them celebrating, when they finish a long, month-long voyage across the ocean and they make it to port, they have Holland Day and
Yeah.
don't work. I can imagine that.
I like it.
All right, third and final word related to Valentine's Day, handsome. You've heard that word before.
Yes, yes. I've never thought about it now that I think hand.
It's a weird
some,
word, isn't it?
Hands. Well, just because hand and some are definitely familiar words to anyone.
Pretty
who
much
speaks
everyone
English.
has some
Yeah.
hands. So
Yeah,
why
some
is it
hands.
special to be handsome? Like everyone has hands.
Yeah, to have them. Yeah, to have some. Yeah. Let's hear it. I don't know where we're gonna go with this.
All right, first potential origin. It refers to the size of a man's hands. The larger the hands, the more masculine the man, and the more handsome he is. This came to be synonymous with attractiveness.
Seems pretty good. Go ahead.
Second potential option derives from the name of the 1800s British playboy and aristocrat John Malcolm Hand, who, according to legend, had 14 wives and over 70 mistresses before he turned 50, largely due to his good looks and charm.
That's good. Why the sum at the end? John Malcolm Hand.
I assume it just kind of means you're kind of like hand. Your hand,
Like
some,
instead of
I
saying
don't know.
handish.
Yeah,
it kind of was
handish.
like-
I don't know. I can't explain that. part.
That's interesting because if I'm looking for patterns, typically if you more within our game of Bennett's, I'm more trying to read Bennett's brain than investigate the history, and because I feel safer, or I know Bennett's brain more than I know history, so I should investigate that instead of, and like this has sort of a Bennett flair to it. And so, but it would thrill you if you were looking up the word handsome, saw that it was some guy, and I'm gonna fool Daniel with this because he'll think I wrote it, and so I'm kind of like don't want to be completely dismissive of it. What's the third one?
All right, the third one, it originally meant easy to handle, as in convenient to fit in the hand, and that was eventually expanded use to mean something that was fit or appropriate, which was then later expanded to mean anything with a pleasant form, which then finally ended up referring to people's appearance.
That one might be true, and it's just sort of boring. Because some etymology is boring, I think. Some is it's unexciting. The gaps are a little strange. That has it doesn't have to be perfect. The interesting thing about etymology is not always perfectly logical. You have to just see. It's like it's logical if you are squinting.
Yeah, right.
That's what etymology is. Is like you squint with the logic of it, and that has a good squinty logic. Can you walk me through the beats of that one again? Of it started as hands.
Yep. It originated
go
as
ahead.
easy to handle,
Easy to handle.
and which essentially translated or meant convenient to fit in your hand. And then that was expanded to refer to just anything that was fit or appropriate, whether or not it was in your hand. And then later that came to mean anything with a pleasant form. And then finally,
Yeah, like it fits
translated
well,
to-
changes.
Right.
Ugh, I'm gonna choose that one, and I'm not happy about it because it's not particularly good. Yeah.
3 for 3, my friend. You got 'em all.
Ah,
You nailed them. You're an etymological adventurer. Maybe not much of an adventure if you just got them all.
I mean, there were risks, and I was the least sure of that one because I was like, I think you can't bring yourself to kind of write a boring one, you know, like, and that was kind of a boring one. And
Well, I'll tell you my
again,
process. My process, it starts with the word. So I just hear a word and I go, huh, that's a weird word. I wonder where that came from. And, if it's a word that I have an idea of where it might have come from, but I don't actually know, that's how it was with handsome. I thought, oh, it probably comes from the size of your hand.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that is the most attractive answer. I think it's likely that these adventures in etymology will confuse me more. I will not walk away and remember handsome in
Right.
connection with what you said the actual journey
Well,
was. I'm going to
mean-
be like, yeah, hands and male attractiveness. That sort of, there's something about masculinity and size and all of this,
But I mean, think about,
the
I just
sexual
thought that
undertones of it.
that the actual origin is kind of funny, right? Like if you say, "Oh, wow, he's handsome," then you're saying, "Oh, he's easy to handle," which that's not, it's not the same thing, and in many cases could be the opposite even.
Well, easy to handle, then it fits well, and then once things started fitting well, I imagine its slang started to catch on and be like, that's just satisfying. That's like attractive. Like there's some, oh yeah, like this. Whether I'm imagining you are even building something and the piece fits just so, and you would use whatever, like handsome or whatever the word was, but like yeah, I mean almost as an expression of darn right that's good, and then once it made its way to people, I'm trying to think of this kid slang term that mean what is, hold on, because it's very
I
funny.
probably know. I probably know it. I'm hip with the lingo.
Oh man, I don't want to spend time on
Lit.
this.
That's really lit.
I'll look
It-
it up.
If something is really cool or entertaining, it's lit. It refers to literature because kids really like literature.
It's slang
That's the
kind of like
etymology.
Riz. Have
Yeah.
you heard Riz? Oh,
Yeah, I've
are
heard
you-
Riz, which is
okay. So, GYAT, gat. Are you familiar with this
GYAT?
term? Yeah.
I'm not. Does it refer to a
Okay.
gun, like a gat?
No. You want to guess again?
Is it like a blackism that refers to like gat damn?
Yes, actually.
That's it?
But it started that way. People writing that in. Yeah, like, gat dang, and then got shortened to gat. But then it got applied so much to like attractive, hot women and stuff that
now it's
kids were
its own
dumb
thing.
and they confused it as like you've got a nice booty, and so gat like means like nice ass.
Weird.
yeah, because dumb kids on the internet were seeing it, and then they made it a thing. Like, which is actually upsetting. Now you have kids developing slang built on like misunderstandings, and I guess
man.
that's all. Maybe that's always been the case. Things have evolved with like some form of experiment, and at its core, going like. It still like has the spirit of it,
Yeah.
but weird to me to say gat means like
Nice.
she's kind of like she's
Wow.
hot, nice booty, yeah, like that kind of thing.
That's funny. Adventures in etymology in the future are going to be pretty fun.
And we'll have a lot of them too. And it's it's unclear the staying power. I mean, of something like, Gat and Riz and stuff like that. Like, how long is that going to stay around? So
You should do adventures in slang or something.
I should.
That would
I
be
should
fun.
really consider that because
But I know
I'm
it all,
glad I
so
found
it
that.
wouldn't be that good. I'm pretty
Well, I don't. Here's
got my
what's
ear to
funny
the
too.
ground.
You ask teenagers, even good faith teenagers, like the ones I'm teaching, and go, hey, I want to like come up with some of the slang. Like weirdly, the language they use, they cannot think of on the spot. They're like, I don't know, like we don't really use any slang. How weird is that?
Yeah.
It's just the lack of awareness, right? Of what the very language that they're using, they're not aware of, or maybe they're embarrassed and don't want to tell me the like, because a lot of it's probably, I don't know, edgy and stuff like
It's
that.
pretty bogus, bro.
But
Bruh.
yeah, totally,
Totally.
dumb.
Dumb.
Totally. Totally. What's funny is that cool is slang, but
Yeah,
cool
right.
really got so rooted that said like, what's slang for cool? And I wonder if I was really young, if I would even understand that cool. We've gotten more casual. Like I understood growing up that cool was somehow casual to say, and so slang and something being casual, there's an additional layer. Like I know all slang is casual. Cool doesn't actually mean cold to the touch, and so it's not literal. So that's another marker for it being slang. But if I'm a kid raised today in an uber casual environment in which like teachers say cool regularly, I don't know that my teachers ever said cool. Like that would have been a young person language, and now that line is blurred more, yeah, I don't know if I would have understood that cool was fundamentally just slang.
We could, on the Third Space podcast, we could be a slang factory. Like we could, we have a pretty big influence, I would say, in the culture, and so
Yeah,
we could come up with
creating.
new slang, new ways to say, you know, all the things that people really want to express but don't have a perfect word for.
I heard there was this really like this mega. I'm gonna go look into this, but like I heard this story where there was a mega church or something like this, and they were like, well, they wanted to do something like that. They had a lot of influence, and they started using it, and they used this particular term. They decided, and they used it and used it and used it. And let's see if you've heard of it. Off the chain was their thing. Like, oh, that's cool. That's off the
Off the chain.
chain. And I've heard of that, but like in a really kind of lame way. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's off the
I've
chain.
definitely heard that. Yeah,
And so
that came
it
from a
has.
church.
I don't want to say that definitively, but yeah, just a group.
It was it was a intentional slang generation.
Yes, it was an intentional. That's the
Wow,
point.
it
Is that
can
it
be
was told to
done.
me as
That's
like a let's see if
inspirational.
we can do this.
That's really inspirational.
We should look into the etymology of off the chain. I am really grasping at straws, though. I wasn't saying something I wasn't prepared, and I didn't look it up or anything.
Grasping at. Did you just come up with that one?
Oh well,
Grasping at
no,
straws?
no. Yeah, I did because it just felt like straws
It makes
are
sense
like
to me.
they're not sturdy, but like
Well, like when you
you know.
have a soda and you don't want to drink it out of the cup, and so you kind of grasp for a straw to use.
I just grasping at. No, I was thinking more like hay, like dried out hay. It's just really flimsy.
Oh,
Grasping it, yeah. I don't know. Whatever. You could be right though. I'm just grasping at a bunch of
grasping,
soda cans.
grasping
and
at the straw that broke the camel's back.
straws. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why are these soda can things so mean toward camels? And why are they? I don't know. But to transition to something I did a tiny itty bitty little bit of research on, I want to talk to you about gate control theory of pain. The gate control theory of pain.
Okay.
Gate control theory of pain. I don't know what, but you can say it how you want. But we were taking a baby course on Saturday. It was like a 6-hour baby course, and when I say baby course, I mean like preparation for the birthing process and all that entails, and like how to be a good partner was like interwoven into that, and I appreciated that. And one of the things that they just tossed out was a quick graphic and says, if you don't know about the gate control theory of pain, it's really, research backed and very well established in the scientific community. But essentially, and this is how it was described to me, was that it's like, well, I mean, gate control. Like if you imagine your spinal cord as a gatekeeper, And the gate control theory of pain suggests that this gate can either let pain signals go through to your brain or block them, kind of like a bouncer at a club letting someone in or not. And so the idea, though, is that like since this spinal cord, I guess, is this gate control area, if they said things like if you while she's in contractions, if you massage her neck a little bit, or and positive encouragement, and maybe she's whatever chewing on ice chips, or there's just almost overstimulate with positivity, so that that it actually doesn't allow as much pain to go through. And I was just sort of curious if like, are you buying that on some level, or does it sound like it makes total sense to me, and I don't know if it just sounds like scientific, though. It just sounds like something I would make up and go, that tracks, like clearly I can't experience all things, or I've been distracted, or it's why people look away when they get a shot, right? Because they don't see the needle going in. It doesn't hurt as much for some people. I have to look because the idea of not seeing it, like watching the needle go in, I don't feel as in control. Watching it goes in actually settles me, but it upsets some people because that makes the pain more horrific to them. What do you think? Are you buying this gate control theory?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it sounds plausible to me. I mean, there's two kind of areas of it, I imagine, right? The physiological level, like how are your nerves actually receiving the damage signal, and then perpetuating that to your brain for processing. That's one thing. That's a physiological thing. And then there's the psychological thing, which is how does your brain, which is receiving these signals, how do you focus on them, or how is your attention affected by what signals your brain is receiving? So there's kind of a psychological and a physiological, and there's probably significant overlap between the two. And I did learn about some of the physiological stuff before. It's been a while, and I remember like afferent and efferent and myelin sheaths and all that good
Bennett's
jazz.
Smart, guys. Bennett's really smart.
Sodium and potassium, action potentials, all that good stuff.
I know. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess just thinking like from my rudimentary understanding, it kind of makes sense if you have a nerve and it's this ionic potential going down it, which is how it kind of transmits information. If you overwhelm it, then you're not going to be able to squeeze too many signals through the gate, so to speak, right? So that kind of sort of makes sense anyway. But I'm not well read enough on that to be able to talk too much about it. From the psychological perspective, though, that makes a little more sense to me, because I think how fundamental attention is to our experience, right? Like what we pay attention to, I mean, that's huge. We had a whole podcast a long time ago on attention, and it's super important. Like it's where I actually buy into some mind over matter kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get into a little bit of mind over matter, but yeah, I mean, could you even argue that attention is who we are? Like we are little more than our attention. Like in terms of, maybe I'm sounding too grand here, but like what we pay attention to, like that's, I mean, what else are we than what we pay attention to? Like I'm concentrating on you right now, and I decided to do that in our conversation, and like, it just seems to go very, very deep. It's not just huge, but it is how we experience.
Yeah,
it is who we are, like how we navigate.
I don't know if I would say it is who we are, because even animals have attention, right? But they don't have identity so much like we do. So I think that who we are, if you want to put it in those terms, it's like a combination of attention, memory, and consciousness, something like that. Because without memory, then we're always in the present, and we can never establish an identity. Without
memories
consciousness,
are created by attention, though, right? Because they're created.
Yeah, maybe.
The building block would be attention to create memories.
Yeah, sure. I could go along with that.
Okay.
Without attention, nothing makes it in. So
yes.
Yeah.
So let's start. But then, what were you going to say about consciousness, though? So I'm buying.
Without consciousness, we're just, we're just empty vessels. And then without attention, yeah, nothing. We have no experience.
I guess you're right that I'd be like, if the most baseline term, if we had to reduce ourselves to one, what would be consciousness, like whatever the hell that is, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
Like
yeah.
you gotta have it, and then you gotta be able to direct it, and that directing is what I'm calling attention.
Right. But attention is interesting because it requires focus. Well, focus and attention you could even use synonymously in a way, but like we have the capability to receive inputs all the time from all over the place, from
Yes.
inside of our bodies, from our toes, the pain in our toes, to tickling in our toes, or sound from the world outside, or light beaming in and reflecting off of things into our eyes, which we then process, and smells and tastes, and all of these signals that we're bombarded with are memories coming from inside of our brain in mysterious fashion that we still don't understand. All of that stuff competes for our attention at all times, and we as conscious beings have to choose a narrow slice of all of that rich data to focus on, to put our attention on, and that guides much of our behavior, especially our conscious behavior. So yeah, super important. And when you think about pain, I mean, pain demands your attention.
Yes, it's one of the most demanding sensations you can have. It is, I would even say.
Right. And I mean that's its purpose. Like its biological purpose is to say, "Oh, you're being damaged right now and you need to pay attention to this and fix it." Like that's the whole point.
So here's what I don't understand then. Okay. Well, like I had this thought while we were talking about this, is that, okay, I have a field of vision and I can, like, I think everything, my field of vision is capturing everything within it,
Yeah.
but I can see multiple things at once. Like I'm bombarded with, we'll call it I shouldn't say nearly infinite. Like right now in my field of vision, there might be 400 items if I were to calculate each little granular item. The coins in this, on my desk, and the whatever. Let's call it 400 bits of stimuli coming at me.
You probably see in 1080p,
Yeah.
something like that.
And of the 400 bits, I can see consciously right now, maybe 10 or 15, weirdly. I mean, I'm not looking at them, but in my periphery, I can just see. But I can pay attention to, well, now we're getting down to one, maybe two. Like I'm aware the screen is lit, microphones in front of me, but I'm paying attention to you. And so what I want to know is that I kind of was operating under the belief that it's all the machine of my body, my eyes are working, and it's all getting in there, but because I'm a finite being and not capable of processing the infinite, that I direct it with attention. So what I'm confused about with the gate control theory of pain is they're suggesting it's more what I'm talking about is psychological. I can only pay attention to one, but it's all getting in there, but I can only pay attention to one. But the gate control theory is saying, no, you can actually, like, you're experiencing less pain. Because I'm talking about distraction. Distract them.
Yeah.
What's the difference between, and it really doesn't matter outcome-wise, if she's in labor or if you're experiencing pain and I'm going, look over here, and I tell a dumb joke and they're kind of mad because the joke's inappropriate. But even the anger is distracting from the pain. But I would assume that the pain signals are being sent. And I would have assumed that they are getting there. But the gate control theory suggests maybe they're not even getting there. They really are getting crowded out. And that's not psychological. That's like I guess that's what physiological means, right?
Yeah.
Like that's weird to me, because I just would have thought it definitely is being sent. It's just not being paid attention to. Does that distinction matter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think it does. I think it does matter. It's important. It would change how if there's some therapeutic application, it would change what you do, right? Like if it's all about the brain only, then it kind of doesn't matter where you perform your techniques, your distraction techniques or whatever. But if it's physiological, then if you want to kind of hush out foot pain, then all of your attention is going to be done somewhere between the foot and the brain, right? Or if it's a finger pain, then all of your attention is going to be paid somewhere between the arm and the brain on whatever that neural path is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess the analogy that springs to my mind, which is probably not totally accurate, but I mean, it's a water hose, right? Like, you're sending water through the hose, and if you pour some food coloring water in at some moment, it takes time for it to progress all the way to the other end of the hose. If you crimp the hose somewhere in the middle, then you're never going to see that
Yeah.
food coloring water come out the other end. So it's kind of like that. Not exactly, because there would be other little tributary hoses going into the big hose. I guess the better analogy would be like a bunch of streams and rivers, and going into a river or something like that. And the river leads up to the brain, kind of.
Yeah, that's
But
it's
I guess
interesting. It just
one thing, maybe this is related. Like, if you ever have like a mosquito bite and you don't want to scratch it, because maybe you don't want to make it bleed or get a
sure.
scab or whatever. But if you like press around it, like with your fingernails or something, you don't
Yeah, yeah,
scratch
yeah.
it, but you push. Not You don't touch the bite itself. You just kind of press around it. It soothes the itch of the bite. I wonder if it's using the same kind of mechanism.
I wonder. And I and I'm a big believer. For me, my observation of bug bites, if I can refrain from scratching for about 24 hours,
Yeah.
because it comes and goes in waves and waves. Oh, it's itching really bad right now. Or it's not. If I can refrain from 24 hours, it will go away like almost completely within 24 hours. But if I give in subconsciously, most of the time, I don't even realize I'm scratching, and I'm like, oh no, now I've got a 4-day like itch on my hands, like
7-day itch.
this-
It's kind of the same if your eyes itch, and you rub your eyes. Like if you got allergies or something, and your eyes are itchy. Like if you rub your eyes, it seems to only exacerbate the problem.
It seems to me we have a hard time measuring pain. Pain is so, even though it seems so, it's a concrete. And let's talk physically for a second to distinguish. Like physical pain, so obvious. You slice your hand open and like there is pain. How much pain? Like, well, it differs by each person. So that measurement, that quantitative measurement of pain, is just near impossible. At least our current understanding. I mean, I guess you can get. That's why you have those charts in hospitals with the smiley face.
Yeah,
and the
right.
crying
Which
face.
always seem laughable.
Well, and if you say, if I said I'm at a 10 or I'm at a cry, like, how do you know? And seriously, it's a real question. How do you know? We could all think you're a wimp, but if you are experiencing some massive amount of pain, and how do we know you aren't just exaggerating, or you're a hyperbolic person, or you're dramatic in your expression, or all sorts of things, right? But then you complicate things even further to mental pain or abstracted pain, guilt
Sure.
or regret or these sorts of things, and that's, I mean, now we've just complicated infinitely, and I don't even know where to begin. So, with the gate control theory of pain, can we let's take it as true for a moment that it works on a physiological level. It works to intercept, and the hose metaphor, all of this really works because it's rooted physically. Can we talk about abstract pain, non-physical pain, and use the
Can you
gate
gate it?
control theory? Yeah, can you gate it? That's not just what I said is just pure distraction, because distraction is different from this gate control, right? A little bit, anyway, in terms of methodology.
I don't know. Well, in terms of methodology, yes, but in terms of concept, not really. Like, if you think about our brain, our attention is the vessel through which experience happens, and our nerves are the vessel through which pain signals happen. If you clog up the nerves and with a bunch of other stuff, right, then the pain is gonna get crowded out. If you clog up our attention with other stuff, then perhaps the pain, even though it's not physically derived, might get blocked out. I mean, that kind of rings true, right? Like if you've ever been in a bad mood, or sad about something, or angry about something, or anxious, then distracting yourself does work.
Yeah,
If you
get my
can
mind off of it, kind of thing. Yeah.
exactly, if you can break through, and it's, if you can break through that focus, if you can actually manage to shift your attention to something else, then it works.
The old gender stereotype is that, okay, if there's a breakup, let's say you went through a breakup, and I'd say, Bennett, let's go to the strip club because we're guys and I'm going to distract you. Or, let's go hang out and watch Super Bowl Level 3 or whatever. Right. It's just like, we're going to go do something. And the gender stereotype of the girls is let's lean in and talk about it and have a, men suck or dating sucks, and like really lean in. Both seem appropriate to me, and I guess that's the pain management is not like gate control is not saying we're the only methodology of pain management ever. So I guess I'm kind of making the point. I don't know, like where does gate control theory and gender behaviors come in? It would be my question.
Well, of the two stereotypical behaviors that you said, it seems like the male behavior sounds more like gate control. It sounds like distraction, right? It sounds like taking your focus away from the problem, whereas the other one, talking about it, that sounds like something else, a different strategy. And it also just sounds to me also like totally separate from gate control theory. It sounds like one is a more short term strategy and one is a more long-term strategy.
I guess pain management is short-term. Do what you can to survive this pain that's demanding to be felt in the moment, and then the long-term strategy is problem solving. And which is what the women's approach seems to be more geared toward. Is like, let's investigate it, let's unpack it, let's talk about the ending of the relationship and process. Right. So if you're presenting me that one narrow example, then the unpacking it to a certain degree, it sounds like the better strategy, right? Like it's long-term focused, whereas the other one seems, distraction has its place, of course, and time heals all wounds, they say. That's called the time theory of control or something. Time control.
Time control theory is what they call that.
Well, can we apply? Is there any reason? Let's talk about pregnancy or pain or whatever that you would actually want to embrace the problem. Don't take any pain numbing. Don't distract yourself. Really lean into it. This is an important moment in your life. Is there any validity into let's investigate it the same way? Or abstract pain and looking at problems that are in your life and exploring your demons, it seems like confronting that and not avoiding that is the best thing. Maybe a temporary distraction, a night out with the friends, great, but you need to face that demon. Is there physical equivalent where it's like it's birth, you should really weirdly lean into it and I don't know what to say, relish or pain. I don't know. Is there any utility in that, or is that just anguish for no reason or agony?
So, all right. So I have only a couple things that spring to mind. One I think came from you. Didn't you tell me in all of your birth research stuff that if you get an epidural, if a woman gets an epidural, then she's actually more likely to tear or be injured during the birthing process, whereas if you don't get an epidural and you can feel the pain, then I guess maybe you're a little bit more you're not as vigorous with your birthing, and you don't injure yourself as much.
You can read you're more in tune with your body than when you're numb is the idea behind this. I know the hospitals have they are more than happy to do epidurals, so they try to downplay. They try to realistically say here are the drawbacks.
Well, that's big epidural for you.
Yeah, big epidural. I do feel like they were downplaying the risks because it seems to me that lots of women, or maybe I don't know the percentage, but they just wanted it to seem like this is a normal routine thing, and here you go, let's dispel some myths, and by dispelling all the myths, they were pro, but. I don't care what you say, and there are arguments out there about being more in tune, allows you to physically navigate with the caution that your body, you're all in harmony with it's sending signals to you, and you're reading them, and not inherently a bad thing, even though it's not enjoyable. It's like I'm reading my signals loud and clear and know where to steer clear. And yeah.
I
It's
also
like,
heard another thing came to mind, but so there's that thought about the epidural. There's another which is like maybe in like a very traumatic near death experience, the pain grips your attention and keeps you conscious. Whereas if you were, if you were not like if you were numb, you might drift off into unconsciousness and then die. But if you were like
interesting.
in strong pain, that would, it would fire your, your adrenaline, and you would just be all amped up in order to get out of
Yeah.
danger or something. Maybe.
That makes sense too.
And then the other thing that came to mind is that, our stress response, human stress response, is tied to our ability to make memories in a way, and there's a learning aspect to it where if you actually sidestep the stress, if you sidestep like their cortisol response and all that stuff, then you actually don't completely form lasting emotional memories for those particular events. So maybe there's some meta level where if you kind of take the cheap way out and you skip over the pain, then you're not going to be able to emotionally resonate with that memory to the same degree that you would have otherwise.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that's all that comes to mind, like on the physical level. Like, no, there may be another kind of meta psychological level where you might want to experience the pain so that oh, I shouldn't do the series of actions that led to this pain. Like, I shouldn't do that again.
When when I studied abroad in New Zealand, and I tell this story to my students basically every year about skydiving and going up in the plane, and I tell a long-winded story, but I I say this as a part of the story, but it's true. At the time anyway, I peaked on fear. And it was this interesting revelation of I can't get more scared. Is that even true? I don't know. I'm sure if my life were actually, if I were in the basement of a killer and I'm tied up, it would have been a different type of fear. But for this particular thrill-seeking fear, there was some reality acceptance of I may, there's a degree of danger and I could die. I don't think I will, by the way, or else I would just not do it. But like I had this very powerful moment of my body, I'm freaking out, and then I peaked, and that was a curiously rewarding experience of going, well, back to we are finite beings. We are limited in our capacity to feel and experience, and to explore the outer barriers of that is that's kind of oddly neat. I don't mean to say we should all like be pain, endure pain and see what our limits are, but there's something to be said for that.
I mean, I think it's good to kind of push and find out where the boundaries are, because now you have the perspective to compare, right? Like if you have a meeting with your boss, or you have some angry parents, or Third Eye Blind breaks up, or any of these really scary eventualities that could happen, like where on the scale they go from 0 to skydiving,
Yeah, no. Third Eye Blind. Don't even joke, man. Don't even joke.
I'm just trying to present scary things. Very scary thought.
So, yeah. Well, yeah, knowing, I mean, we should be adventurous and exploratory. It's what it means to live. And so exploring boundaries is have you even heard having children? And I like the description of they are boundary testers. That's what it means to be a kid. And it's actually maybe what it means to be a human being. To
Now
get out
that's
there.
deep. That's worth a micro poem. I bet Third Eye Blind has a song about that for sure.
Well, kids are trying to find their way in this big
Crazy
rock around the sun,
third
blue
oyster
planet,
from the sun.
They're trying to find their way. So are we, and we're finding boundaries, and some are self-imposed. The thing is, when we're adults, we can kind of understand our boundaries better and learn quicker and all of that. But because they might be personal boundaries of, I don't want to mess with that. Like, the better I can at setting my own boundaries instead of letting the world set them for me, the better. Like, that's actually what it means to be mature, maybe, is that I'll set the boundaries before the world does, because the world's a lot less gentle. And that's what good parenting is too, I guess, is to let them explore, but don't, set boundaries before the world does, because the world will, it can be vicious.
There's also the component of, I mean, your self-set boundaries could be wrong. In fact, often
Yeah.
are wrong, and that's why
Probably.
people push their boundaries or go beyond their limits or
Well,
whatever.
I have a silly example for you, really quick.
Okay.
My English team threw a baby shower for us on Sunday, and a couple of things. It was so sweet that they did it. I loved it. I was really excited that they wanted to do this. How thoughtful for me and Danielle, like how thoughtful of them for us. I have Sunday like mild anxiety or whatever, like Sunday scaries, whatever you call it. But so I was like, dang it, why does this have to be on a Sunday? But that's. And I say that because I went with this sort of, it is Sunday, it's 3:30, the sunset, and then I knew the moment came that we all had to open the gifts, and I weirdly had not really, for some reason, anticipated that, because there's my parents are throwing a shower, and we're kind of like, we don't want to do it, we don't want to do the opening gifts in front of everyone part, especially with like a bigger crowd and stuff. And lack of familiarity.
I know where this
that
is
makes
going.
it better or worse.
I know where this is going. So you're saying that you need to have someone come in and like massage your shoulders and like poke at your head and
yes, the pain to offset
play
the pain
music loudly and stuff, so that you can open presents. The gift control theory.
The gift control theory. This was too long of a story because it's a non-story. The point is, we opened the presents and it wasn't that freaking bad. And I actually meant to talk with you off air about this because you don't like it either. But
Yeah.
I guess might as well just share it with you now. Is that like, I was just like, man, if I look at my weird idiosyncrasies, I build that up to being pretty big, and so do you, by the way.
Sunday
like
thing or
opening
gifts
gifts,
thing?
no, the opening up gifts in
yeah.
front of someone and being pretty. I mean, I would admit pretty. I don't know if neurotic or just some childlike resistance of I don't like the social strings and I have to perform for them, and I can probably wrap it in some sophisticated language about how BS it is or whatever. But at the end of the day, I've made this kind of monster out of it. I've given it power, this resistance to it, and it's like I felt a little silly. I opened it up. It was not hard. I opened the gifts. I made a joke about being awkward. I made a joke at the end. Okay, now y'all don't quit looking at us. Like now that all the gifts are open, I made some joke like that.
Yeah.
Or I said, "How am I supposed to do this?" And I awkwardly because they all got me books because that was the theme. They all got us kid books, and we're English teachers, great. So I'm holding up the book to everyone to see. Is this how you do it? Almost
differently
like
sized dictionaries.
yep. One was A, one was B, one was C. And it was not hard, Bennett, and it wasn't that bad, and it was just pretty normal. And I thought to myself, like, why am I like? I'm pretty well-rounded and even, and then I have these areas that are like I'm anxious about. Specifically opening gifts in front of someone or other, and they're all actually pretty dumb and not that hard to overcome. And I just thought to myself, if I overcome some of these dumb hang-ups, I'll be even more like I think I'm mentally pretty stable. I mean, I get sad or I have ups and downs like anyone, but like I'm pretty stable. And then I have weird idiosyncrasies that I kind of feed, and it's like, why don't I just not do that? This is a dumb. It felt revelatory to me because it was an experience I had.
Sure.
But like, and it sounds not that interesting to say, oh, face your fears, you'll be better for it. But I am saying that. It was like this dumb little moment. I'm like, why am I building these moments up? Like, we should just open, even when my parents throw it, we should just open them. And if it makes people a little happier and, like, it's not my favorite thing to do, we should just do it. Because I mock people that say, like, oh, I can't handle hospitals, or I mean, I really have known people growing up that wouldn't see their parents in a hospital because it just freaked them out too bad. And I thought less of them. I'm like, you're weak. No one loves hospitals. Hospitals are where people go to be sick or die or whatever. Like, get the heck over it. Like, people need you. So I have to kind of turn that lens to me and go, I'm freaking out about opening up some gifts in front of people. Like, just get over it, man. And so that was good. That was big for me.
Good for you. Congrats.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I get where you're coming from, and like we've talked about the gift giving before, and I'm not a fan either, and I used to be much more not a fan of it, but I've always done it. Like, You just have to
softened a little and done
do it. And then as I've gotten older and more tired and less willing to put on a show, like I don't put on a show. Like, if you're giving me a gift, I'll open the gift. If I like the gift, I'll say thanks. I'll say thanks in any event, but if I like the gift, then it'll be a more pleased thanks. And if I don't like the gift, well, it won't be as much pleased of a thanks.
Yeah.
And like, there's just no need to put on a show. And eventually people will learn, they'll adapt to how you behave. And if they don't like it, then they won't be around you anymore. And if they do like it, they'll continue to be around you. And that's a better, more peace of mind world, right? So
Yes.
it's a harmonious world that way.
Another way of saying that is I used to resent the show that we're speaking of. I don't want to put on a show. I'm not going to do it. And I would just kind of not do it. But instead, if I could understand that there are moments in life that you're going to be in the show, like life happens and some of those moments are show moments, but that doesn't mean I got to be the best performer. Like, and that was what was happening is as a performer, like what I was really saying is, oh my gosh, this is weird because I don't know how to be the perfect performer. And because I don't know how to be the perfect performer, I'm frustrated that there's even a show. But like, I can't avoid all the moments in life that involve some showmanship. And I just have to be like what you said. It's the same way of saying what you said is that like, yeah, I'll find myself in that situation. The show must go on, I guess. And you're just not going to be the performer that they necessarily want. And like, but if they know you well, they'll be like, that's just Bennett or whatever.
Right.
And like that, they everything's in harmony because, and that way you both opened the gift and you didn't like, so everyone wins actually in that case. Like it just, whoever needs you to open these gifts or whatever social nicety that like means something to someone, they got it, and you got to be honest or like, not have to dance and be super weird or anything.
One thing that I find pretty comforting, and I think you should probably find comforting as well, is that just generally, I'm just a confident person. I have my strengths like football and my weaknesses like how fast water evaporates.
Yeah.
Those are kind of my boundaries.
What's your go-to weakness? Can we just say that's your reference?
I'm
not a perfect guy. I'm not great at everything. I don't know precisely.
It's not
the
just my
evaporation rates of
go-to
water.
weakness. It's my only weakness.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about that. That's my like gate control theory scale. Like you're skydiving. I'm like, I don't know how long this water's gonna take to dry up. But what I was gonna say is like, I'm just a generally competent dude, and so any generally competent dude should be able to open some presents or do whatever mildly unpleasant social interaction and just get through it. You don't have to excel yet, like you said. You don't have to be a showman, but like you're just gonna accomplish it. I can go to a hospital, like I can go to a funeral, like just suck it up and do it. Any competent person can. And like you're a competent person too, so you can do anything
you put your mind to.
You can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Thank you, Bennett. We're such good friends.
I feel like we are just a treasure trove of novel advice on the Third Space podcast.
I know. I feel a little guilty for like, but isn't that what life is? Is that having personal revelations that seem really powerful and sharing them, and then and everyone's just like, it's kind of like just be nice and like don't be an idiot. Like it's like I really learned today. Be nice to other people.
It finally sunk in.
Yeah, but it feels so immediate to me.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well that's enough.
That is enough. I say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Do 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 do.